Welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Nikki Robbs, and I'm a real estate agent serving the Tacoma and Puyallup area. And with me today is Mike Dalton from Mad Energy Northwest. Met him at a networking event, and the testimonials I've heard of having people really save on their energy bills really intrigued me, because I thought that solar energy was mostly a scam in our area, but you're proving that it's not. And so thank you for being here, and let's dispel some myths and ease some fears today.
I'd love to. And honestly, you're not the only person who thinks solar is a scam. There are a lot of companies in the state that are doing bad work. And so trying to get through that, how do I say that? Trying to get through that crowd of unqualified installers is definitely a challenge for us.
And there's unqualified people in a ton of industries. So it's always about finding someone you can trust that asks for a good recommendation. Like, no, I know these people. I would vouch for them. And so thanks for being here. Hopefully we'll get lots of people learning more about solar and knowing, there are some reputable companies out there, and yours is one of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you get started in this solar and alternative energy field?
Well, I didn't start right into solar. I actually started as an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
I was an apprentice electrician and going to a trade school. That was a 4-year commitment. And while I was in school, alternative energy came up. Solar panels came up. And I fell in love with that. I thought it was a really cool concept. I thought the idea of creating your own power and not paying to buy that power from utility was a pretty cool concept. Shortly after we started learning about that in school, the company I was working for started taking on projects that did solar. So not only was I getting that book experience in class, but I was able to actually touch it, install it, and see it actually work. So
wow. What a great combo.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, the thing I fell in love with more than anything else was the customer's reaction to turning the system on.
Wow.
You know, when you spend thousands of dollars on an investment to put something on your house like this, it could be a scary jump for sure, right? But what I liked most about being on those projects was when we turned the system on, and I can grab that customer and say, hey, do you want to see something cool? And they say, yeah. And they come out and they see their meter spinning backwards.
That's amazing.
To watch their face light up and say, wow, this is actually working. I'm producing power. I'm not purchasing anything from the grid. I'm actually pushing more power into the grid. This is working. I just fell in love with that.
Well, yeah, that's an amazing feeling, right? It's me handing over the keys to a new house. It's like when you buy a new car and they watch you drive off the lot, and then you get to see this homeowner incredibly happy that their investment is going to pay off, and they're seeing proof within the first couple days.
For sure.
That's really cool.
For sure. So that power that's pushed back, that meter that's spinning backwards I was talking about, so that actually, that gets recorded through the net metering program. That gets recorded on the utility bill. So the idea with solar is that you would overproduce during the summer months, right? You would produce more than your house is actually using, and your meter is spinning backwards, and it's building a credit. So on your utility bill, you would see a new bracket that shows that credit building up throughout the summer. And as we get into the winter months where you're not producing as much solar as you normally would be, you can use from that credit of overproduced power in the summer to continue to offset your electricity bill all year long.
Wow.
Yeah, great program to be a part of for sure.
Because we definitely have dark months.
Yes, we do.
How do you produce solar? Well, you don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's a common thing I hear about with solar. Like, hey, does solar actually work in Washington? It's cloudy here, it's gray here, it rains half the year. How is this how does this make sense here in Washington? And although solar does produce less when the clouds are out, it's still producing some to offset that electricity bill as much as possible.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, through the net metering program, that's what really makes it make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So how do people get started? When do they usually contact you? Is it freaking out over an energy bill, or they saw their neighbors get solar, or maybe they heard a scary story and then they call you? How do you find...
I would say more often than not, more clients that call, any clients that call have experience with negative aspects of solar, right? Companies out there that maybe installed a poor system that wasn't done to code, or maybe it wasn't hooked up in a way that that produces the most efficiently, right? I'm stumbling over my words now.
That's okay.
What was your initial question?
When is it most common for people to contact you?
I would say most people reach out once somebody they know has gone solar, a family member, a friend, somebody who's had success with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot online about the negatives of going solar, and there's a lot of companies out there not doing good work, so that can veer people away from it. But once you hear that good experience and you hear somebody saving on the electricity bill,
Yeah.
you kind of want to get a piece of that, right?
Yeah.
So more often than not, when I get an initial inquiry, it's question time. It's question and answer. We call it our qualification call.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about ROI. This is what you can expect going solar in Washington, right? We're going to talk about system warranties. Hey, this is an investment. This is not just money you have in your wallet in your back pocket. This is something that's a long-term investment, and we want to make sure that we're protecting that investment with warranties that are 25, 30 years. Yes, absolutely. So the products that we lead with have some very long-standing warranties, and you know what? I believe that's important in our industry. You're putting an electronic out in the weather, out in the rain. Things can happen for sure. The panels are durable for sure, but to have warranties to back that stuff up, so if something goes wrong, you're covered. It's a big deal.
That is a big deal because there's not very many companies who stand behind their work for that long.
Right.
It's hard to get a roof that lasts that long.
Right.
Like, well, certain areas get torrential rain, certain areas get hail, certain areas have so many trees that it's actually hard to upkeep, and so many things on a home don't last as long as you think they will. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of benefits do you see for just the regular homeowner or maybe a high use homeowner, or are they pretty much the same because we're more based on our location than our usage?
Benefits of going solar?
Yeah.
So it depends on your area. The biggest thing is you're offsetting your electricity bill.
Yeah.
Right? You're paying for every kilowatt hour of power that you're using, that your house is using, and to be able to get that power from another source, to not pay the energy company, to not pay utility for that, is immediate savings, right? So getting into solar, there's a couple things that help with that upfront investment, right? There's two incentives available in Washington. First one is all solar installations are completely sales tax exempt. So 10% right off the top right there. You're not going to pay anything more than what you see in the contract cost, right?
That's amazing.
Even better than that, federally, there is a 30% income tax credit available for going solar. What does that mean? That is a 1-for-1 credit. So 30% of the cost of going solar gets paid back to the consumer when they file their taxes.
That's amazing.
It's huge savings right up front, for sure.
Oh my gosh. So even when we're talking about the return on investment, yes, there's an investment, then there's incentives, and then there's savings over time on your energy bill.
Yep.
So, wow.
Yes. So what we do is we come up with a design that is best fit for that roof. Everybody's roof is different, right?
Yeah.
Solar produces best when facing south.
Okay.
So if you think about us in the northern hemisphere, that sun rises east to west, kind of south of us, always south of us, right?
Yeah.
So a southern exposed panel is going to get the best sunlight. East-west is great too. You get that morning or their afternoon sunshine for sure. North side solar is something we try to stay away from. But outside of just orientation, shading is a big factor, right? So nearby trees, even across the street, telephone poles, a chimney that might be on your house, these all take into effect in how your solar is going to produce throughout the year. So we run a shading analysis report. We look at a couple different system design options and talk through that with the client on that initial call.
Wow, so even on one street, there could be wildly different options based on the roof, the trees nearby, the orientation of the house. Even if they're all oriented the same way, there can be a ton of variation. So that's incredible. So they are really custom jobs.
Absolutely.
Every single house.
Yeah, and it's funny. I hear people say that this is a new home kind of thing. I'll do this when I build a new home, or this should be in the new construction realm. And you know what? It's great there. We love our new construction projects. But one trend I'm seeing in new construction is the roofs are super chopped up. They're super architectural. They're super, there's a lot of different orientations to that roof. And designing a system that has 1, 2, or 3 panels here, there, here, I gotta admit, doesn't look the best. It doesn't look like it was planned. But if you look at a lot of older construction, you get A-frame roofs with east, west.
Right.
That's what you get.
Yes,
and
do.
you can max out both those roofs, offset your electricity bill, see some pretty quick ROIs on your system, and be saving right away.
Right. All that new construction that happened about 25 years ago, like every roof is the same. All you have to do is pitch.
Right.
It's just this or this, and that's all there is.
Right.
Yeah. And now we've got 7 different facets, and it's kind of like a diamond that's upside down. It's
Exactly.
crazy, isn't it?
It can be difficult to design on a roof like that for sure.
Well, wow, all custom. So we had a couple of prepared questions. So let's go to one of those. What are some other myths that we can debunk for homeowners? Like, how expensive is it for just a regular person? Is it affordable?
I would say it's definitely affordable. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I can't say that it always has been. When I was installing, initially, we were installing 170 watt solar panels for residential. Okay. Now we're installing upwards of 440 watt solar panels for residential.
So what do those numbers mean?
Those mean higher efficiency, higher production. So you're getting a lot more power out of the same square footprint of a panel, right?
Okay.
Efficiencies have also come up. If you think about how energy is converted from DC to AC and the power loss that can happen in that, efficiencies with every panel, every inverter, every new technology that's coming out in the solar industry is increasing that.
Wow.
And seeing that after the last 15 years, I can honestly say, yes, this is definitely a viable product for the average homeowner. Although there is an initial investment up front. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to invest in this up front. We're oftentimes seeing a quick ROI, and even seeing when you take how much a customer is spending on an electricity bill and you turn that into a loan payment. And I gotta say, 90% of our clients are pulling out financing for these systems, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you compare what you were spending in electricity costs with the loan payment, a lot of times they're a wash right up front. So you might think, well, if this is just a wash, what's the point of me putting these on this roof, right? Think about this. Has electricity rates ever gone down?
No.
No, they haven't. So if you continue to rent electricity from the utility company, like your neighbors, you are going to be subject to an increase in electricity rates year after year.
Yeah.
And so where you're spending $250 on an energy bill now, that could be $600-700 in 8 years from now, right? Now picture a scenario where you pulled out a loan to produce your own power, and that loan payment is $250 a month. Yeah, it's a wash, but 8 years from now, when your neighbors are paying $600-700 for that same amount of power, and you're still paying $250, that's savings right away.
Wow, that's a lot of savings right away. And it's going to be exponential, sort of. Maybe not exponential. That's probably the wrong word. But it's definitely going to add up over time.
Yes, it does get exponential. If you think about once you pay that system off, now you're getting free energy.
Right.
For the lifetime of that system.
I mean, to me, this sounds like a return on investment that is up there with new kitchen.
Yes.
Right? Because kitchens are not cheap, but gosh, you enjoy every time you're in there, right?
Yes.
So that's a daily enjoyment thing, and so you're going to enjoy getting your energy bill for a while. Like, look how much cheaper it is. There's probably a little bit of an adjustment period when you realize it's like this all the time.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not the energy bill that does it for people. It's the app.
Really?
It's seeing those sunny days and watching your solar produce way more than your house is using, knowing that you're getting that credit for the winter months. That's really cool to see.
That is really cool to see.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what kind of maintenance do these require? Because like roofs, it totally depends on where you are. There's pine needles or leaves or some big windstorm. So is that the same time of year that we should we've got solar panels, we should definitely get up on the roof and check everything? Or is there something unique that has to be done to them?
So I'm glad you brought this up. Maintenance is actually a huge question, and I get it on almost every qualification call.
Okay.
What does it take to maintain a system like this? How much do I have to spend to keep this system operating? Right? That's a big deal. These panels that are on your roof, they're pretty maintenance free, to be honest. They don't have any moving parts. They just kind of sit there waiting for the sun to come out. The only thing I like to say that these panels work like a window, whereas the cleaner they are, the better they work.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah.
So in Washington, we get a lot of rain, which is great because it wipes that pollen, it wipes those pine needles, it wipes all that muck off the panels. But something that I've seen a lot is on the lower frames of the panel where that water drips off the edge, we can get like a green algae on that bottom frame. So it's, it's nice to go up there once every other year just to wipe down those panels and clean them off,
So when you're hanging the Christmas lights take a good look.
Or when you're putting down the moss treatment on the roof, wipe the
spring.
panels down, right?
Yeah, so it is just another thing to keep your eye on, but it sounds like that's not an annual project.
Right.
Especially if they're on the sunny side, it's not going to get nearly as much moss as the shady side of your roof.
Right.
So like, oh, I'm out here anyway, and then just
wipe them down with hose water and a simple mitt.
Oh, that's easy.
It's pretty simple.
That's easier than washing your windows.
Yeah.
I mean, because
it can be. You only got one side of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, one side with maintenance, we talked about warranties.
Yes.
Right. So, getting into a system that's 2, 3, 5 years old, things can come up, right? Now, every system we install has a monitoring aspect of it that the customer and we can access from the computer or a phone. Right? Okay. And it's great because our clients love to just show this off when they're at their friend's house. Look what my solar's doing, right? So it's a good outreach thing there too.
Yeah.
But anyways, with that monitoring platform, if there's any errors with the system, if a panel breaks, if an inverter breaks, if there's anything constricting power being produced, you're going to see it in that app. It's going to red flag you. It's going to show you the production on the whole array, and you're going to say, hey, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
These 3 panels aren't produced. Oh, that's where my chimney is, right? So it might start making sense to you. But if you get this one panel that's got a big red X on it not producing, that's a call to us. Now, with 25 to 30-year system warranties, that's no out-of-pocket expense to the client. Wow. We will come on site, diagnose the issue. The company that actually manufactured the product, be that the panel or the inverter, will pay us to replace that component and get you back online.
That's incredible. That's a great partnership.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. What are some of the latest trends in solar energy that you think consumers would want to be aware of? What are you seeing out there?
Latest trends on batteries, actually.
Okay.
If you've heard of batteries being paired with solar, that's the biggest thing lately.
Like Duracell batteries or
not
batteries?
Duracell or Energizer Buddy batteries, no. Definitely specific batteries for solar. We use Enphase, we use Tesla Powerwall. There's a few different options out there for sure, and depending on your system and what you're looking to do, how big you're looking to go is going to dictate what product we use. But I can say 10 years ago, what is it, 2024? So 2014, even 6 years ago, batteries were not that popular.
Really?
Batteries were considered an extra expense that wasn't necessary. We needed a huge battery bank to provide just the minimal amount of power for a power outage. And I tell you what, over the last 6-8 years up to this point, we've seen that turn around.
That's awesome.
We've seen battery technology increase its efficiency, its storage capacity, and we've seen costs come down. So now there are a couple different reasons somebody might get batteries. One, and the most common, would be for power during a power outage.
Yeah.
If the power goes out, your home can now switch to battery backup seamlessly. You don't have a generator that's running. There's no engine that turns on. There's no oil to maintain or any pistons, right?
Wow.
There's no engine that you're having to keep maintenance on, right?
Yeah.
There's no engine that you're having to maintain, right?
Yes.
But you have this battery that just switches over seamlessly. You get a little ding on your phone. Oh, my house is on battery backup now. That's great.
And maybe you didn't know.
A lot of times the client might not even know unless they get that alert on their phone.
Right? Because other times, the windstorm is coming through. Oh gosh, better start lighting candles. And then you're like, well, I don't know, is the power going to stay on? Well, now we have to go fire up the generator because the power went off. And you know all of those things, but in this case, you may not know.
Exactly.
Like just, surprise, got you covered.
Yeah, and the other reason you might get a battery, PSE is actually rolling out time of use rates right now. And what that means is different times of the day you might pay a different cost for electricity.
Okay.
Right? And they're doing that because the grid is so overloaded. I understand it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets home from work between 5 and 7. They plug in their electric vehicle. They turn on the oven. They start the dryer. The grid gets pretty overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So naturally, the utility company is going to say, hey, if you want to use power at these times, it's going to be more expensive. And that kind of spreads out when people are using that power. So with battery technology, you can install a battery on your home, and it will either it'll either charge on the production from the solar, or if you don't have solar, it can charge on the grid. So let's say you're in a scenario where you have battery only backup, and you can charge that battery when the time of use rates is at its least.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
5 to 7 o'clock, You come home and plug that EV in, your system can switch to battery, so you're not paying double or triple the rates from utility.
Oh, that's smart.
You're using the power you paid the cheapest rate for.
Yeah, in the middle of the day.
Exactly. So then with that, now we're actually starting to see an ROI on batteries, whereas it used to just be an expense.
Right.
Now it's saving money.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people considering putting in their electronic charging, and like, but when are we doing it? Right?
Right.
Yeah. That's so great. What about for homeowners or really home buyers who are considering several homes and one of them has a product like yours? What's their due diligence to make sure that the solar panels already existing on the house are good? What do we look for?
It's a really hard one. You'd have to include somebody who can take a look at the system, inspect it, look at the products that were used, look at system warranties. I would hope that the previous homeowner had some kind of an installation packet or an operation and maintenance manual of some sort.
Great. Yes.
Yes, and then we do provide that for our clients as an operation and maintenance manual that talks about the products that were used, how to keep them up and working properly, what to do if something goes wrong. Having that accessible, I think, is a big key there.
Yeah.
But purchasing a home with solar on it, I don't have a whole lot of experience there, to be honest.
Yeah.
There hasn't been enough market saturation, I think, to really see that a whole lot.
Yeah, I haven't run into it being a problem,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm glad it wasn't a problem, but I've heard stories from other locations in other states that must have different rules and different laws about it. And it's been a snafu for almost all of the stories. And which has made me nervous as an agent. I don't know how to represent a seller with solar. I'm not sure how to represent a buyer who wants solar. And so I'm so glad I met you, because now here's a new team member that we can add to all of the expertise that we can offer to a homeowner or a home buyer. Like, okay, hold on, I do know someone, and you're going to want to know them too.
Absolutely.
Right. That would be awesome. What about, and because this is going to come up, people put solar on their house in the next couple of years, and then life changes, and 10 years from now, it's time to sell. But you've got that 25-year warranty on the solar panels. So what should they do to prepare to sell? Should they contact you and say, whoa, we need updated information, or what would you suggest?
The best thing I could provide is that operation and maintenance manual that was provided when the system was installed. If they don't have that anymore, yeah, sure, we can provide that. Absolutely.
Okay.
But that's a funny question. What would I provide?
Have you had anyone call and say, hey, I'm selling my house, and obviously this is not going to be coming off the house, it's going to stay on the house, right? People don't have them uninstalled all of a sudden, do they?
No, nobody's doing that. I would say more often than not, these warranties that I'm seeing let me back up. I would say the biggest thing is making sure the system warranties are transferable.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that we're leading with it nowadays, absolutely. 25 to 30-year warranties that are transferable to the new homeowner.
That's incredible.
Something that was installed 10 years ago, hard to say. So that would be a big question. Hey, what kind of warranties do you have on this? Are they transferable?
Yes, that is a great question, because there's window companies that don't transfer the warranty.
Right.
Like, well, why bother? Why bother installing new windows a couple years before you sell when it's not going to help the new homeowners hardly at all?
Right, and it's so hard to say, hey, no solar system is the same, right?
Okay.
There are tons of different panel options out there. There are tons of different inverter options out there. Some are made locally, some are made out of country. You can get different cost points on some, so you might have a client that just wants to get as much solar installed as they can for the cheapest price possible, and maybe they went with a company that was finding out-of-country modules.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's something that's important, because that's not going to be warranted. Right? That might be something that doesn't, it's not made for our weather even, right? So, important question to bring up.
Those are really good questions. So now we've just armed a whole lot of consumers with better questions.
Yeah. If you're purchasing a house that has solar on it, one, you want to make sure it's operational.
Oh, yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
There's too many people out there.
Ask for them to turn over Like, what's your latest energy bill?
I think that is important. You want to see the energy bill and how much power is this actually offsetting.
Yeah.
You want to see that everything's operating as it should. So there should be some kind of a monitoring platform that shows how the system's performing, and that should be seen before you purchase it. If you're purchasing a home that supposedly has $20,000-$30,000 added onto the cost because it has solar, it better work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it better work.
Yeah.
So far, I haven't seen it make a huge difference in the sale price, but still early days, right? Because it's like having an above-ground pool. Like, that's so personal. Having an in-ground pool is a permanent decision, and it can affect the sale of your house. Above-ground pool, 50-50.
Right.
Maybe not. We shall see, right? Oh, that's been so great. Are there any other favorite projects or great stories that you'd like people to hear when they're thinking, I don't know about this?
Favorite projects?
Yeah.
You know, we just completed a project in Ording for the Ording Veterans Village. Okay. So this is a community that has a community center and 35 tiny homes that kind of surround this courtyard.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a nonprofit organization that built this community for homeless veterans.
Love it.
And so we were able to put solar on each of the tiny homes and on the community center to offset the electricity costs for this nonprofit. So now that they get to save on that, they're using those funds to actually put towards developing another veterans village right next door.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I can see that's a favorite project.
That was such a fun project to be a part of. Just having the veterans come out and talk to our crews throughout the process was really cool.
They probably love that.
Yes, they did.
Oh my gosh.
Matter of fact, a couple guys brought their barbecues out and we're cooking lunch for our crew. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of that. That's a whole community
event right there.
Yes, and they were happy to have us there. So.
And that just makes so much sense. Like, when money can be used to do so much good, why are we using it on energy?
Well, yeah, and another example, we're right now working on a project for the Evergreen State College. We're putting solar, a 94 kilowatt array on their pavilion. The money was raised by the students, actually, and they chose to invest that into solar energy to help to reduce electricity costs for the campus. Long term, putting that money towards something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. That is so incredible. Do you have any last minute stories of, obviously, the niche projects and the favorite projects that are awesome, but are there any warning stories that you might have of this is when not to do solar?
Warning stories. I'll tell you what, it's so funny when somebody calls me and they say, hey, I'm ready to go solar, please send me a quote. And I look up their home and they're completely surrounded in trees. Making that initial call, who told you you're ready to go solar? If I can give my professional advice, you're not the best fit for this, right? And, so that's a big warning sign. Hey, if you're surrounded by trees, you're not a good fit for what we're doing, right?
The cabin in the woods, that's 360 surrounded by trees for many, many feet. It's not just one tree.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, thank you for mentioning the cabin in the woods. I am working on a project right now in Greenwater that's a cabin in the woods.
Okay.
Retired couple owns it, and they don't live there. They go up there for vacationing, right? They want to have the ability to have power when the power goes out. I think husband runs on oxygen, and they want to have power available for when the power goes out. But they don't want to have a gas-powered generator on the property doing a cycle test every week and turning on when they're not there.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at battery technology, battery backup, and although they're not the best for solar, that's fine. They can utilize a battery bank to have power when the power goes out.
So they get just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, they're not going to be running the dryer and the oven and the electric vehicle and Netflix all at once.
Right.
Right, because they're a cabin in the woods.
A lot of times when we're installing battery, we try to educate the customer on, hey, how long do you want this battery bank to last? Let's look at your home loads. Let's look at your daily life routine, If you can go without charging your EV, if you can go without running that dryer, if you can go without using the oven, cooking by another way, those three things there are going to save your battery life. And it might make your battery last 2-3 days longer than it otherwise would have. Right. So educating the customer on that. What are your critical loads that you're going to need when the power goes out?
Freezer.
Heat
fridge. My freezer.
Yep. If you have gas appliances like a gas furnace,
okay,
the electric aspect of that is just a fan.
oh,
So putting that on a
not
battery
much.
bank doesn't
Yeah.
pull much power at all.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's a big
that's a
thing.
good one.
Yeah, so just going through
That's
that.
simple. That's not very much. Awesome. Any last words but for people to consider solar?
It's never been a better time to buy. It never has. And it sounds cliche, but listen, 30% federal income tax credit has never been that high before. That went up during the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. It went from 26 to 30%.
Well, 26 was still a good number.
Yeah, it was.
But,
Yeah,
wow,
it was.
30.
Well, in Washington, they do really push people to go solar, and there's some heavy incentives for it here. So taking advantage of those is a big deal. They're not going to be around forever,
Yeah.
right? But taking advantage of that 30% now, module prices just coming out of COVID, there is a huge backlog of modules, of panels that have been created and not
Seriously?
installed.
So it's the reverse of the supply issue. Now we have so much supply.
You have too much. So
And
now we're seeing panel prices that are reduced in cost more than we have ever seen them, more than I've ever seen them.
Yay!
And so I've seen systems go in for better ROIs than I ever have, honestly. So
That's awesome.
it just takes a phone call to talk about, is your house suitable for solar?
Yeah.
Are you the right fit for solar, right? It takes me an hour to put together a design. It shows you how this is going to look on your house, how it's going to affect your electricity bill, and what's the long-term ROI on something like this. Is this something you can buy into?
Yeah.
And if it is, it's never been a better time to get involved.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How do we know how to spot a reputable company? What does Mad Energy do that maybe other companies don't? Or how do we know that we've already had not great work done? What do we look for? How would we...
Yeah,
We're lost. You're the expert.
There's a lot online about bad installations, about solar being a scam, about people promising ROIs that just aren't reality, right? Quick ROIs, or promising that incentives are in place that just the customer doesn't qualify for, and I've seen a lot of negativity online about going solar. I would say, first off, look at the reviews.
Okay.
Every one of those companies that's doing faulty work, I've seen their Google reviews and they say it for sure. And I think there's too many customers out there that are just willing to take the word of that salesman that knocked on their door, sign on the dotted line, and hope for the best. But you got to look up the company. What kind of work are they doing? What kind of experiences other people had, right?
Yeah.
Something that sets Mad Energy Northwest apart is our experience in the industry. And that sounds cliche, but honestly, we've been doing this since 2009. The guys that I partnered with, the ownership in our company, have all been doing this since 2009. We haven't even been doing it together the whole time. We started together in the industry. We parted ways. I went to go work for another solar contractor, and then we came back, joined forces, started Mad Energy Northwest with all the education and background that we've developed. And we can honestly say that when it comes to single-family residential, we've got it. When it comes to commercial applications, it'd be flat roof, pitched roof, we've got it. Comes to government grants, we can help apply for grants. When it comes to energy code for new buildings, if you know anything about building a new home nowadays, you have to have so many energy credits applied to the job.
Wow.
And solar can get up to half of those credits taken care of. So we can take care of those applications for you. ROIs, shading analysis, the whole 9 yards. We have the tools and the experience to educate the customer on what to expect out of their system and how to make the right choice.
That's incredible. So it sounds like 2009, that would have been just on the cusp of this. So really, it's a pioneering company. You've been at it from basically the beginning. Is that about right?
You wouldn't believe how much negativity we got up front. Solar, pick a real job. Pick something that works.
Oh, I can hear those, right?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of old-timer electricians that have said, those 12 panels will barely turn on a light bulb. And it's like, yeah, you're not really educated on this.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's one of those industries that's had a lot of change and
Yeah.
a ton of growth in the last, how long is that, 15 years?
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what sets us apart. Mad Energy, we try to do it right. We lead by quality. We lead by example. All of our crews, this is a really important notation here. We value safety above anything.
Okay.
Anything and everything else. Safety comes first. Every job that we're on, we will do a site safety walk to call out all the hazards and how we're going to mitigate getting hurt.
Good.
Our crews rope up 100% of the time. They're wearing all the proper protective equipment, safety glasses, you name it, to work on these systems. And our licensing goes back to, let me rephrase this. And when it comes to our apprentices, all of our apprentices attend a 4-year college, a 4-year trade school that the company pays for.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And they get to learn electrical theory, electrical code, electrical circuitry while actually working in the field, touching the stuff real time. We put a lot of emphasis on education, on training, and safety. That's the forefront of what we do.
Yeah. So that means as the consumer, we're getting a better product because you're investing in your workers and they are going through all of these extra steps that usually ensures that they're 100% covered. They're more invested in the success of the product. We're getting a great product. You're offering a great service. Sounds like everybody wins.
I would say you're getting the right product and a better installation.
Better installation.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yes, absolutely.
This product probably rises and falls on the installation.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, a lot of product failures are because of installation, malpractice, right? We definitely put a lot of thought into training. We have training every week, every Monday morning. We come together as a team. We talk about last week's projects, what's on the ticket for this week's projects, and how to best approach them.
That's really important because all of our industries need ongoing training.
For sure.
Right? We meet every week, as you saw, to talk about what's going on right now because our market does shift very quickly. Sometimes overnight, sometimes a little slower than that, but it's good to stay current of this is exactly what's going on. Especially learning from a past project, next project. That's how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Was that a good addition?
I think so.
I'm sure we can splice it in there. Yeah.
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 How'd we do? Do we have enough content?
I think we did great.
Okay.
That feels really full. I feel like my husband's questions in the back of my head all got answered.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you have anything that if you were going into solar right now, that you would ask?
The only question I didn't say out loud that I know my husband would want to ask is, are you going to drill holes in the roof? What's the quality of the roofing? Am I compromising my roof by having these installed?
Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's do it.
So a common thing for getting solar is getting a new roof.
Yeah.
Right? Something we're going to look at. Like, hey, what's the age of your roof? What's the condition of your roof? If it's an older roof, if you have an older roof, we're not going to install solar on it.
Okay.
That's bad practice. We're going to advise that you get a roofer and get that roof replaced first because, like I said, this is a long-term investment and you want to protect that, right? Paying costs to put it onto an older roof and in 5 to 8 years remove that system to re-roof and put it back on, that's just added cost you don't need.
Yeah.
So if you can get that new roof now, that's definitely the way to go. Now, with getting a new roof and putting solar on it, right? New roof goes on. Next week, you have a solar company come in to start installing. We're drilling holes in that roof to make our attachments. You think that roofer is going to keep his warranty?
No.
No way he's going to keep his warranty. However, we have a great roofing partner that we work with that knows our products, knows what we're installing, knows the installation practices of our crews, and will keep his roof warranty post our installation.
Okay.
So heading that off up front with your roofer is very important.
That is very important.
Now, there's 2 ways to waterproof this. You might guess, hey, let me open up this way. As with any company, Mad Energy has critical liabilities. And when I say critical liabilities, I mean things that we have to get right or nothing else matters. Things that if we don't do these right, we're not in business. We have 3 that stand out to us. 1, safety, is falling off a roof.
Yes. Yeah.
Our guys rope up 100% of the time, no questions, right? That's a big one. 2, being in the electrical industry, electrical shock. We don't work on live equipment.
Okay.
We turn everything off to do our work before turning it back on to test. That's a big deal for us. And 3, as we're talking about now, is water damage. We're on top of people's roofs. We are penetrating that layer of that is protecting your home. And if any one of those penetrations is done wrong, that's a water leak.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine the damage that a water leak can do to your home, that's
many
extensive.
holes there are.
Absolutely.
That's not one.
So there's 2 ways that we protect from that.
Okay.
One is a water shedding method. These stainless steel flashings, you've seen these used with your electrical mast that goes up through your roof. There's a flashing that goes underneath the shingles. You've seen them used whenever there's a plumbing vent coming up. There's a flashing that goes under your shingles. That's a water shedding product, right?
Right.
So water comes down the roof and it sheds away from the roof penetration.
Yeah.
That's been used in solar for many, many years, and it's very reliable.
Okay.
However, with that, if you miss the truss, if you come in at an angle, if you are working in the winter, we install in the winter, and those shingles on your roof are cold and brittle, they can rip, they can break. So if there's a bad installation, it may not be leaking at the flashing, it might be leaking in another spot where the roof got damaged, right?
Yeah.
So we actually turned our efforts to a waterproofing method rather than water shedding recently. So we have an over-the-top butyl mount. If you know anything about butyl, butyl's been used in the roofing industry for 100 years now. It's a thick, tar, sticky substance that fills the void of a hole, right? So we have a mount that goes over the top. We lag that into the trussing, and that butyl layer that's underneath it soaks into the lag, soaks into all the holes in the mount, and seals anything. So we take it from a water shedding to a waterproofing installation.
That's different.
Yes, yeah, and this has been used worldwide for decades, and it's been very successful.
And we haven't used it until recently.
Yeah, it's catching on here. For some reason, we just started getting, well, you know what it is? It's the products that have been available. They just started rolling out products that have solar mounts that have these butyl layers on them.
Okay.
And it's definitely the way the industry is going towards.
Yeah.
I've seen not only our own company, but I've seen all of the competition around us going that same route.
Okay.
Just because it takes away from installation error.
Yeah. Is there any roof you can't do? Is it metal roofs or cedar shake? Is there anything that you're just like, it's not about the shade, it's not about the direction of the roof or the style of the roof, it's about the roofing material itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. So roofs that we do work on are composite shingle. That's the most common, and that's what we get more of anything, right? Flat roofs, TPO, PVC, you name it, we can do a flat roof installation.
Okay.
Standing seam metal is actually a great roof to work on because we don't have to drill any holes in it.
Oh!
We can actually attach to the standing seams on the metal in between the roof panels and not make any holes.
That's a really good fit then.
It is, yeah. So roofs that we don't work on are tile.
Who has tile?
There's concrete tile, there's Spanish tile.
You see that, isn't there?
That red tile.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't do that. And cedar shake.
Okay.
Now, it's mostly, edit this back a little bit.
Yeah.
The reason we don't work on roofs like that is because typically the ROI just doesn't make sense. To work on a roof that has tile takes longer. We end up breaking some of the tiles while we're walking on it, and those have to be repaired, you know? We're not roofers, we're electricians. We don't want to do roof work. We want that to stay intact, right? Cedar shake. If you know anything about cedar shake, you're supposed to replace a bundle at least of that every single year because wood deteriorates. You put solar over the top of it, how are you going to replace those roof shingles? That's not good practice. So now, does that mean that we won't work on a roof like that? If we have a tile roof, I have done tile roofs before. If we have a tile roof and a customer who's adamant about going solar, willing to pay the additional installation cost, and has a roofer that can work with us on getting the mount and the attachment installed, yeah, absolutely, we'll work on that as a team. But we don't want to be the sole person responsible for any roof damage.
Right. So when there's a professional on the roofing side and you can collaborate and make a great plan for success on both ends, right? You're not destroying the roof that they worked so hard on, and they're not having questionable things like, wait, what did you do? What did you do? But
ultimately, we need to do what's best for the client. And a lot of times the client doesn't know. They're looking for direction. They're looking for answers to these questions. So being that reliable resource for them and just showing them, hey, this is what you have available to you. This is what your roof can produce, right? This is the long-term ROI. Is that something you can stomach? Are you going to be in this house for that long? What are your long-term goals? Having that conversation up front is vital because solar is not for everybody. Not everyone's a good fit, but if you are the right fit, you can definitely see some dramatic savings on the long run and benefit greatly from going solar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. There we go. That was a good question.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. What else does he want to know?
Yeah. What else would you guys ask?
Okay. He'd ask, are there referral discounts?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Ask that again.
All right. So if I get solar and I love the product, and obviously I'm talking about it because I'm so excited about it, and I'm probably showing my app at everybody at all the barbecues, like, oh my gosh, look what my house just did. Look what my house just did. So if my neighbors start calling you, are there discounts that I can get or that they can get because of knowing somebody?
We have a referral bonus program. Yeah.
Okay.
So $500 to you for anybody you refer that goes solar with us. That's $500, and I have a fun story about that.
Yeah.
At a previous company that I worked for, we had a client that referred enough business that he had a system paid for.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a ton of referrals.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Right? That's a win for everybody. So even right now on a day that's, I think, partially cloudy, it's one of our gorgeous Tacoma days, but it is partially cloudy. What's your house doing? What does the solar panel look
I
like
have
right
an
now?
app for that.
Okay.
You want to
let's
see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, I don't know what the weather's doing
I know
outside
we're
right
totally
now.
indoor right now.
But let's take a look. So, okay. I don't know if this is visible. That yellow circle is the solar. My house is using 830 watts of power right now, and my solar is producing 2,200 watts of power right now. So I could tell you it is a little overcast right out there right now, because on a sunny day, my solar is going to produce 5,000 to 6,000 watts of solar. So what's happening through the net metering program is that extra solar that extra electricity that my solar system's producing is getting pushed into the grid because my house isn't using it, right? And that extra, that is creating a credit on my utility bill. So it's just the beginning of summer now.
Yeah.
By the end of summer, I should have a really nice looking credit on my utility bill that I'm going into winter with. So, and that'll help me offset costs all winter long. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Thanks so much for being here. That was really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Thanks for coming by today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So everybody, thanks for listening and just really being a fly on the wall for the conversation with Mad Energy Northwest. This is Mike Dalton. We'll have his contact information in the show notes and tag them on social media. So follow and get inspired about what could happen for your own home.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you.
Yeah.